Hello, folks. This month we are going to talk about website encryption. Encryption is the process of encoding information so that only authorized parties can read the information. Encryption is a major part of how our data and applications are kept secure on the internet. When we think of encryption, we might think back to studying World War II and how countries kept their intelligence secret. Nazi Germany had the Enigma Machine. The Enigma Machine was used by the Germans to encipher or encrypt and to decipher and decrypt messages about their battle plans and troop movements. The British and Allies worked very hard to intercept Nazi messages and crack the code of Enigma so that they could understand the encoded messages. Now we're going to take a look at the Enigma Machine, what it looked like. And this is the Enigma Machine. And it was a series of electromechanical devices, rotors, and such. When the British cracked the Enigma code, it was said that they had figured out the encryption keys. Now, the United States had the famous Navajo wind talkers. They made use of their native language to encrypt U.S. intelligence. No one could figure out the language being used, thus the crypto system was never cracked and the messages were kept private. So both the Enigma and the Navajo language used by the wind talkers were examples of crypto systems. Okay, today, encryption is implemented electronically on the computer by algorithms or programs which scramble information so that only the designated parties can read the information. This scrambling and unscrambling of information can only be done by the parties that possess the encryption keys. And the keys you can think of as keys to your house or your car. Now we're going to take a look at a slide that I worked up. Okay, and I'm going to introduce a few new terms here. Okay, over here on the left, we have the secret message to hide. This is the message that we want to convey secretly. Now, if you think of this message as being your passwords or your account information, we want to hide that. So what we do is we encrypt that. And this message is encrypted by using an encryption key. Again, the keys. Okay, and when that's encrypted, it produces a ciphertext. And the ciphertext doesn't look anything like the plain text, which is what we're encrypting. Okay? Now, when we want to decrypt that information, we then use the key again, and that decrypts the information to get us back to the original message, which is in plain text format. So that's generally at a high level the encryption procedure. Okay, so you think of an encryption key as a password. The safety of your encrypted data that is sent over the internet is related to three items. Okay, item one is the encryption algorithm being used. The algorithm means the procedure or process of encrypting, how your data is being encrypted. Item two is the complexity of your encryption key. If you're using a very short key, it could be easy for a hacker to figure out or crack. The longer and more complex the key, the harder for someone to crack. And item three is the safety of your encryption key. That is, you should be the only one that knows your encryption key. If you leave your encryption key written down on a yellow sticky so that other people can find it, you have compromised your key, and by doing that, you've compromised your data. Okay, so let's consider some cases where we might want our data encrypted so that only designated people can see our information. How about a bank transaction? We certainly would not want our passwords and account information to be sent over the internet in plain text form for anyone and everyone to see. Any company that wants you to use their website must provide you a safe and secure environment. In order to do this, a company must purchase an online identification that users can trust. This online identification must assure users that the website they are using is legitimate. This online identification is known as a SSL certificate. Now, SSL stands for Secure Sockets Layer, but think of it as certificate. We call it certificate for short. So the organization purchases these certificates from a recognized agency that verifies the integrity of the organization. And that agency is known as a certificate authority. You can think of the certificate authority, it functions similar to a notary. Just as a notary vouches for your identity after seeing some identification, the certificate authority would vouch for the identity of the organization after seeing various forms of identification, checking references, and so forth. Now, how well respected the certificate authority is a key factor for the safety of the certificate. And the safety of the certificate directly relates to the safety of your information and the transactions that you're going to be engaging in. When we go to a banking website or a retail website such as Amazon or eBay or LL Bean or any retail agency, you must take note of the web address to make sure the connection between your computer and the banking website is encrypted. And I'm going to look at a website right now for Citibank. Okay, so a secure website is designated by the S in HTTPS. This is as compared to a website that is unencrypted, that is HTTP. Okay, so if you look in the web address bar, okay, which is up in this portion, you will see HTTPS, and you think of the S as representing secure, okay? So here we are, we're looking at the Citibank website. I have not logged in, but it is a secure site. So when you see the S, this means any information that is sent from your computer to the Citibank server, it will be encrypted. Now, in addition to the website address having an S, there may also be a lock, which you see here, or a thumbs up, or a green address bar. Now, Citibank, the website that we're looking at here, has the lock and the green address bar. Okay. So, how safe is this connection? Well, that depends on how strong the encryption algorithm is and how complex your encryption keys are. Fortunately, most companies make use of industrial-strength encryption algorithms. Interestingly, most encryption algorithms are very well known and very well understood. They've been studied extensively by the government, academia, and various commercial organizations. The more understood the encryption algorithm is, the stronger it can be made. This seems counterintuitive to people that hear this for the first time. Some people may think the encryption algorithm should be kept secret. Well, the truth is, if the encryption algorithm is kept secret, you would never know who else knows your secret. Therefore, with well-published encryption algorithms, everyone knows the secret. Well, then you say, if everyone knows the encryption algorithm, how is this secure? The answer is in the keys. In the keys. The safety and security of the encryption is highly dependent on how complex your encryption keys are and how safe you keep your keys. Okay? So, where are my encryption keys kept? Well, for your interactions with your secure websites, such as your bank or retail establishment, these organizations are holding the keys for you. They make the keys available to you and your system when you log into their website and establish a secure SSL connection. Okay, so let's take a look now at the Citibank website. If we click on this, on the lock here, you'll see a menu comes up with a whole bunch of information that you may never have known that was there. So there's two categories here, permissions and connection. We're going to take a look at connection. Okay, so we see here under connection, we see one lock icon, and this tells you something about the certificate, and it tells you that the identity of Citigroup was verified by the VeriSign certificate, okay? And then if you look down here, the second lock tells you that your connection to Citibank is encrypted with 256-bit encryption. Well, how this information is displayed will vary somewhat based on each browser. I'm using Google Chrome here. And what we just looked at was the agency that issued the certificate, the encryption algorithms that are being used, and there's a whole bunch of other information here that can really make your head hurt, okay? Now, there are several well-known and recognized certificate authorities. Examples are VeriSign, Komodo, GeoTrust, GoDaddy are names of just a few of them. A more complete review of the certificate authorities can be found on a website that'll be displayed for you. The keys in this sort of interaction are called certificates. So we make that analogy, the keys are the certificate. Once we connect to a website by logging into an account or starting a transaction, the website will make these certificates available to our system, and that will allow us to establish a safe connection. A safe connection is a connection that supports encryption. This establishing of the safe connection is called a handshake, okay? The details of how this encryption works is needed to be understood, but that won't be discussed today. Keep in mind, the data being encrypted is the data that is being sent over the internet. This is called data in transit. Once your data gets to the destination system, which in this case is the bank or retail establishment that you are dealing with, the data is then unencrypted and it's left on their server. At this point, your data is then said to be data at rest. So we have data in transit going across the internet. When it gets to its destination, it's received there and the data is at rest. Note that when data is at rest in this model, it can be vulnerable if someone hacks the server. In the future, we will cover other forms of encryption that take care of the data at rest problem. This is one small sliver of encryption. In coming shows, we will be talking about other types of encryption, such as encrypting important emails and encrypting data at rest. An entertaining way to review the information we covered is to look at the following website, which will be displayed for your reference. That's all for this month. You have a lot of new information to ponder and some new terms to look up.